Ladies and gentlemen, to deepen and wrap up the Reach Track discussion, we are joined by a great panel lineup of industry-leading marketing, media, branding, digital, and programmatic subject matter experts and practitioners. Our first guest panelist, Dr. Nicco specializes in tech adoption models and monetization. He is currently the Vice President of Marketing at Genting, Malaysia, and he has developed a new marketing framework that makes profits during a difficult time for the organization. Our second guest, Hock Koon, has for the past 30 years worked on various aspects of SMB's business processes, including improving its productivity and to grow their businesses via marketing campaigns. He is currently the Director of ECommerce at MDEC. Rejoining the panel is Aditya of Triton Digital and Mako of Kantar, who will be moderating the panel discussion. I hope you're excited for this final industry panel discussion of Digital X Data 2020 live virtual conference. And also, please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them as soon as you have them, as fast as possible, because we want to have time in order to address all of them for you. So the panel is now getting ready. So please stay tuned and we will be back in just a short while.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us. I'm here with my distinguished panelists. And thank you again, Aditya, for the very insightful session you have. I have 40 questions to ask, and I don't think I have 45 minutes for you guys. And in fact, with the so many questions that I have, I don't even know what to answer. What to ask questions for you. Probably I just start. How are you guys doing? And how is it so far after being into COVID 9 months into the situation?
Should I start? Well,
Sure, go on, Nicco.
I think, well, thank God I'm not crazy yet from being stuck at home. Something to dream by. But if you're asking about how we are at our office, or our day-to-day lives, I think like everybody else, we are trying to figure things out. Nobody really has gone through a pandemic like this, so we're okay. I mean, I'm from the tourism travel industry, so I think the problem with my industry is that nobody really could travel at this point in time. I wish I was with Lazada right now. They're doing so well. They've actually gotten most of my money, so but at the end of the day, I think we're doing fine. I think it's about to end. I really hope so. So when the market is back again, then I'm sure we're gonna be better.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. For me personally, now we work from home most of the time, and my what do you call that? My calendar is like a wallpaper every week. It's like it's full of. I start with the beginning of the week. It's like 2 or 3. Suddenly, that we have more than like 2 or 3 double booking every day. So that is for myself personally. But for MDEC as an organization, we are very, very active currently. As you know, we are all over the place, right?
Great.
So why? Because digitalization, it seems to be the answer to what we are facing currently. And I think that is blessing in disguise during this period of time. That we really moved the nation forward, accelerated the digitalization process of the businesses. Yeah. So we are busy, but busy for good reason.
Yeah. And I like the contrast, busy, and in Nicco's case, slightly slowing down. And
I didn't say I'm not busy. My boss is listening, so.
Okay. And how about you, Aditya? How are you?
So from my end, look, I think it's fantastic to just be in a place where there's 4 adults in one place, right? Like, I've been working from home. I would have seen your faces in just windows generally, and that's how I've done a few of these seminars across the region, and it's just so. When they told me that, yeah, you come to Manara Star, I was like ready that day, right? That I'm coming now itself, right? Just let me out my house. So, I mean, from a personal level, obviously being stuck in the house, not being able to socially interact in a job that requires you to develop an entire market or develop an industry, it seems tough without really meeting people physically and speaking to them, right? But but the industry by and large, I think that, for me, it's quite specific. It's digital audio. And I think that with a small sort of slowdown in March or thereabouts, we saw it sort of grow and pick up because people realized that, hey, listen, I'm going to be stuck at home. I got to redefine how I consume my media. And so it really did move. And hopefully that's there to stay, right? We had a good year. Unlike, I'm sure, I'm
Sadly.
sorry, some people.
No,
Yeah.
don't be sad. It gave me a lot of time to rethink my strategy. So,
Yes.
Great.
Precisely. I think you never what you call it, stay still. You keep on have to think about how to get out of the situations.
How
If
to
you're really
recalibrate.
you're really in the situations, see what is going on, and then you really have to take actions. I think now it's time to take actions, think and move at the same time. So that is what.
I think somehow the pause, I think, allowed us to rethink our strategies and recalibrate if we have to. In fact, my first question is, I'm going to direct it to you, Song, is like, MDEC is in the business of digitalizing Malaysia, right? And definitely COVID has accelerated everyone's move into digital, right? My question is, did this make it easier for MDEC? Because everyone is now on digital and in that situation?
First, for those of you who want to know more about MDEC, go to our website, www.mdec.my. You'll know more about us. We're a government agency driving the digital economy of countries. Yeah, has it been easy for us or easier for us? We are very busy, but I think for us, is for me, I think is easier. The reason why is because we don't have to do a lot of awareness. Before this, we have to do a lot of awareness in order to convince people to come on board to digitalize. But now people are asking about how to do it. So if you imagine a funnel, we used to do a big funnel. That means we have a lot of activities, and the success may not be so good. But with this, currently, the interest coming in is what you call is great. All we need to focus is on how to widen the funnel so that more people will be successful. And we do
Right.
this with the partners. And so together with partners, we drive this, the conversion from being, come into being e-commerce or digitalize their businesses. We work with partners to drive so that we have a bigger success rate or higher success rate. Yeah.
Great. And I think you talk about data, and Nicco definitely, in this age, I would say, did you ever stop looking at data, especially now that we are, the industry is affected
yeah.
by and large by COVID?
I think data is one thing that is consistent. Even before COVID, even before the analog days, there must be some sort of data. Appreciation of data is something that is not present before, but now since everybody's talking about it, therefore it must be important. But in my case, I did not start my career as a marketer. I started my career as an engineer. I love information. I love data. I love the science of it. When I was exposed to human behavior and I said, maybe we could codify that. That was the geek inside of me. But at the end of the day, now more than ever with digital technologies, you could track almost everything, right? When you could track something, therefore you could act on it, if you ask me. Data to me sings every day. You show me data, I could interpret it in so many ways. Data is interpreted based on how you see it. So don't trust data also completely, obviously, right?
Correct.
Your reality, maybe not my reality. So, sometimes when everybody wants to fight for it, you must have a bigger view of it and really go into your business. Put context into the data. And I've never stopped looking at it. It even got more exciting this day because it is the only thing that I can do to make sure that I target the right customer at the right time with the right message, with my right product, and perhaps do a bit of the conversion. And just to share with you a bit, that's one thing that we did differently in the last 5 years. We really looked into our data and says, okay, how do we understand the consumers better? Is there a better way to cluster them, with all this AI and machine learning, a fancy word for regression analysis, but at the end of the day, you simplify things. It gives you an actual actionable insight. Like in my case, if I look at a person in my resort, right, I'm not going to ask male, female. That's not what I ask, right? What I ask is, okay, what drives you, right? Is it statistically significant? And let us test it out, A/B testing. If you pick it up, then okay, check.
Great. I like the thought about testing because it gives you confidence, right? And at the
Definitely.
same time, it also influences what you're going to do next.
Correct. Well, it's not, would you rather have that, or would you rather have someone like, hey, guess what? I think, that's different, right? Data is something that is actually you could touch and feel. So, but then again, cautious guys, whoever's listening, please don't take my word for it. Please do your own analysis. Do your own analysis because it's your business. You don't let anyone analyze it for you, because if you let anybody, it's as if you're letting someone go into your house, manage your household, but you pay for it.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah, and, correct. And I like what you said about, trusting data, but I would rather trust a data scientist, guys, than anyone at business. Aditya, in your case, in-home channels or in-home media,
Yep.
as what you've shared, has already been increasing. That's in like watching television, streaming is increasing. In your case, podcasting.
Yep.
How has the flavor or how has the take up in Malaysia been so far? And
So I think
what are the insights that our marketers can learn from the platform?
right. So I think from a perspective which I've kind of reiterated, our business was good. Obviously, streaming increased significantly. I think the one push that was required for podcasts, podcasts have been lingering around. Everybody's been sort of looking at them. I think people have really adopted, and like Song was saying earlier, they were curious about it, but they didn't have the time to do it. Now it was a necessity, so they kind of all just went and they started asking about it rather than you having to keeping on educating them about it, right? So people were inundated with time. They had all of a sudden, this time on their hands, or they had a meditative space because there were kids just making noise everywhere. So they put on my headphones and listen to be peaceful, right? So this is something that has happened. Obviously, we've seen double-digit growth in consumption on digital audio, overall, which is incredible. The trajectory was there all along, and the projection is 22% growth year on year over the next 5 years. So it's a good. I guess it's been good. And data, when you mention data, I think that you absolutely nailed it. Unless the data is actionable, then it's just numbers, right? So you read it and you look at it. Unless you can do something with it,
correct.
What's the point of it being there, right?
Yeah.
So I echo that. What I was saying is that suddenly, there's a rush to go into digitalizations. What used to be a 5 years plan now become a 5 weeks plan. So you have to go into
I like that
e-commerce.
fact.
Exactly.
You have to go into e-commerce, rushing into it because you have kind of
You felt left behind.
So yeah.
I think in my research of this adoption thing, when COVID-19 happened, I was laughing because when I was doing my thesis 4 years ago, one researcher in 1980s talked about this situation. He said that we shape technology the same way we shape it. It's just a matter of a pandemic. He actually used the word pandemic to get us into that stage where everybody is using technology. He did not say digital, but he said technology. So I said, okay, wow, is this like prophetic or something, right? But it's true. When COVID-19 happened, what did it actually do? It forced our hands, it ties our hands at the back. It removed our alternative. There's no more alternative. It's this or die, right?
Yeah.
And normally, as human beings, as we are, we need to survive. So those who are in the digital space, like you, I also, when I jump ship from a traditional to like about 12 years ago, from a very big corporate, from where I am, I moved to a startup digital. My boss says, you're crazy. Nobody will pay for e-commerce. E-commerce is only 1% of anybody's budget. 10 years now, calling me and say, hey, do you have like a opening? And it's funny, Sorry, whoever you are, I'm not going to mention your name, but yes, that's a funny story, but it's a true story. It's like Noah's Ark, The rain is coming. Okay, fine, whatever. And then suddenly it come and you're not prepared. Then what happens next, right?
That's correct, because I think e-commerce has never been a buzzword like a couple of years ago. Maybe bigger companies are able to do that, have started much earlier. But you're right, pandemic, I think, has really accelerated everyone's move there, right? And if I may ask, like, what are some of the big organizational changes that the pandemic has done to your organizations, and you think you're going to carry through in 2021 or beyond? And because I think on the reverse, the COVID situation has helped us a lot, and it could be relative that how we respond to pandemic, that turn the situation around and just capitalize on what's happening for the betterment.
So, if I can go first on that one,
Sure.
right? Interestingly, Mako, I was telling you the story of me being stuck out of the country for 3 months, right? When I was during this situation, and I happened to be in one of my markets, right? So India is one of my markets, and there's a dear friend and a CEO of a very large radio network. So when this pandemic hit, India was locked down brutally, and I'm just taking this context because it happened here as well. Maybe not to the degree that it happened over there, but he has 73 radio stations in 73 different cities, right? It's a business where, you imagine that DJ is in a studio and he's going to air and the transmitter is at one place and he needs to be there, and, what are you going to do? But now they couldn't, right? So they had to scamper, use technology, the word technology, to be able to now get the DJs broadcasting from their spare room or their garage or wherever they were, and still put a program on air, which was, which they did. They refined that. Obviously, the first 3-4 weeks were, shaky as ever, but they were able to refine that to the realization. This great change came where he realized that, radio revenues had dropped. He said, how am I going to keep this business alive? But then he realized that if he didn't pay rent for all those places, still got a program on air, and didn't have to pay the admin costs, the security costs, the cost of printers, the paper, all of that, instead gave them a subsidy allowance of 500 rupees, right? He was able to now run that 73 station business with only 3 studios in the 3 major cities. So that immediately allowed him, and now he plans, if going to 2021, he's not planning to open any of those. He's terminated the lease on all of them, right? He's saying, you do it from home, I'll just give you an allowance.
What you thought you couldn't do, now you could do.
You can, right?
Yeah.
And so
Sorry, Song, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a typical example of when there's a crisis, there's a lot of innovations. You notice during our history, during the World War II, there's a lot of innovation happening during that period of time. Same during this pandemic, there's a lot of innovations. New startup who is catered for the needs of this period of time. So I think so long human can keep on innovate and being creative, we will survive. So it's just when people talk about new norm, this is it, right? So the new norm needs new kind of thinking. So yeah, I think that is I think we will survive.
I think so. Yes, Nicco.
Yeah, I echo them. I think you're right. Necessity breeds innovation. When there's nothing, as human beings as we are, we will find ways to survive at the end of the day. Creativity comes out of the most unlikely places, right? I have never been more creative when I was at home, right? Because you have removed your ability to be distracted whenever you're bored, you go out. But now you can't go out. So what do? You become creative, right? But the only challenge is, I hear my peers here, the only challenge with this is that although we see it as if that it's the holy grail, right? As a community, as people, we couldn't avoid the traditional businesses. They are there for a reason. And sometimes the challenge now is, how do we then protect the people who will be impacted by this? Although digital is good for everybody of us, right? But not everyone could cope. You've seen companies are closing down, because revenues are not coming in. So I always ask myself, if I'm going to do this, right, how I'm going to protect my team? Because you are correct. With digitalization comes process improvement, comes the thinking of, you need to cut your people because they're no longer relevant. They have been replaced by robots or machines, which I keep telling my team, upskill yourself. In the past, you're a designer, be a webmaster, learn it. You're an admin, how to use technology to become an event organizer. Admin is like that anyway, right? But if you don't do that, then you definitely you'll be cut, right? Because that is what I notice in the market right now. People who are complaining in social media, people who are now in LinkedIn looking for are the kind of jobs that has never had the opportunity to upskill. Yes, technology is good. Yes, company can invest money. That's the easiest thing to do. I give you money, invest. But if the workforce is not upskilled, it falls apart. So I think that's what I'm trying to drive at.
Yeah, I just want to relate back to the topics about how to win in the 2021. So yeah, it's important because right now, you know, the industrial revolutions during that time, it take longer time. The period of change is longer. So therefore, people can adapt and adapt easily. But during this period of time, I must agree, the change is rather fast and rapid. And then sometimes we cannot react fast enough. Therefore, we have a lot of issues that we have to handle. So, and when everything else fails, then you have to rely on the greatest resources.
Yep.
That is your creativity. You just have to think out of the box to survive. It's never too late. Truly, it's never too late. So if you have not gone into e-commerce, it's still time. So because why? Because the consumer are moving to e-commerce. So the market is growing e-commerce. There's still a lot of opportunities for people who want to go into e-commerce, and you can take this opportunity, right? Because the market is ready for you now. It just needs you to take action.
Yeah, I think it cannot be any more true that, you know, the best time to act is always now, right? I think regardless of how you're done.
YOLO, hashtag YOLO.
Yeah.
You only live once, you know?
And correct. And I'd like to follow through on that song. And I think during the pandemic, one of the buzzword that we often hear is agility. And I would like to ask the three of you, what is agility and how do you define it and how do you use that to your advantage? And for businesses who needs to be agile, what does it mean to be agile? Yeah, what do they need to do?
I can go first. Yeah, we are a government agency. So when during the pandemic, or more accurately, the MCO started with the government declare MCO. Then during the time, we can start seeing that the industry player come in to support. You know, they come in, like, for example, the likes of Lazada and Shopee and the local marketplaces. You know, they come in and support, meaning is that anyone who want to come on e-commerce. No. So that, for us, we noticed that. So we quickly pivot our activities. What we have planned to do for the year 2020, we kind of, quickly change this and adapt and address the needs of the market during that time. So what we have done is that we run a 5 days webinar, and then we got, reach out to about more than 3 million of Malaysians, and about more than 67,000 of the viewers tune into our content. And then during the last few months, we run the Penjana programs, and we have benefited like 210,000 of the SME, and 45,000 of them are first time transacting.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that whether you're in whatever kind of organizations, you must be ready and be sensitive what the changes are happening in the environment, and you quickly have to pivot. Your true north is always there. For us, the true north is serving the nations, getting the SME to, at least for my divisions, we're getting the people to go on board and sell on e-commerce. And that is the objective. How we do it depends on the current situation, and we sort of capitalize on it. I suppose other organizations the same. And if you are able to capitalize on it, the crisis is no more a crisis, it becomes an opportunities. Yeah.
Yes.
Agility, I mean, that's a great question, right? So when you look at agility, it goes back to what Dr. Nicco was saying as well, right? So you need an organization that's prepared to be agile, right? You need the skill sets, and kind of a little bit above that, you need the culture to be agile, right? Because without that, agility can be chaos. So you can have people going in different directions without knowing why they're going a certain space, right? And that is, it's destined for ruin, right? So I feel that agility is a cultural informed decision inside an organization, right? So people know why they're going a certain space. Obviously, the reasons for it could be many. COVID is a reason, right? Why people had to be, but if you were clearly able to articulate that COVID happened, and here is the opportunity, like you said, that has been presented by COVID, and we're going to go after that opportunity and then resource yourself in a way where you know that you have the right people who believe in that mission now going after that opportunity. I think that is creating an agile organization. That people can do that rapidly and keep doing that. I think it starts from the top and comes down right down to the person who is, turning on the machine, right?
Great.
So,
It's both behavior and attitudinal as well. And it's right at the very top of the organization, like up to everyone there. And I think, Nicco, this rings in very much true for your organization, especially with,
with that size of an organization, right? Okay, I mean, your question was, how do you become agile? What is agility, by the way? Interesting, because about a week ago, this is one of my topic. And it also asked me, what is agile? I've been hearing about this word, but what does it actually mean? Normally, when you say agile, what is the first thing that comes to everybody's mind? Speed. What does the boss say? When do you want it? Don't ask your boss, when do you want this? They will say yesterday. I need it yesterday. No, I learned that the hard way. I never give them, I tell them this is when I'm going to give you. But anyway, kidding aside, when we talk about agility, everybody thinks speed. And if you do a proper research, you have to go back to the definition of the word. The word agility, if you Google it now, every dictionary that you read through, it talks about actually the physical movement, changes, quick changes. They use word like quick, but it attributes to physical changes. Now, if you look at the industry and people who are researching the topic of agility, there has never been a consensus of what is agility. Because if you go per industry, it depends. That's why when you talk about speed, what did Albert Einstein talk about speed? Speed is relative. It depends on who's looking at it. A moving car and you're stationary, of course it's fast. If you're moving together, you're slow or you're the same, right? So then how do you then define? There's this researcher, Shepard, and if I remember Shepard and Sam, 2006, they actually defined it the right way. If you ask me, that's the perfect definition. They said, agility is the rapid movement of the whole body with changes in velocity in response to a stimulus. Quite sounds smart, right? Then you take that and said, okay, how do we define it in the business context? I'll redefine it in the business context. They said rapid, quick, very easy to understand. Whole body, whole organization is the rapid movement of the whole organization. And he says, with response to velocity, he did not say speed. Two different things. Those of you who are taking physics, you know this. Speed is what? It's scalar, change of distance over time. Velocity is change of speed over time with a direction, right? So if you say change in velocity, it means that you need to change your speed, change your direction. If there's no change in direction, you can't call yourself agile, right? And lastly is response to a stimulus, meaning you look at your threats and your opportunities out there because you could see them for now you look at that. You pivot based on what you know, because speed to an e-commerce is fast. Speed to an oil and gas company, they won't come to MDEC and say, I want to digitize, because their business is not about that, right? So I think it depends on the industry. Speed is relative. To me right now, we want to be fast, but because our processes does not allow us to do so. So what does speed agility means to us? So agility must be defined in the context of who it is talking because of the relativity. So sorry, I get passionate about this topic because it's what I know, and I think it makes perfect sense these days, right? And then now, how do we win the 2021? Don't just talk about speed. It's very foolish for you to keep on driving your team. They're gonna get tired. People are, you even the horse gets tired, the car gets tired, run out of gas.
Yeah.
Right? So do it properly, increase the speed. You accelerate properly like how you do with your cars. And the direction. Every leader, every CEO, you go to him and say, boss, where are we going? If they're not gonna give you a direction, run away,
I think you've really raised good, valid points, and not only that, the elements of agility is not just being able to pivot, but you have to have direction as well. I think it needs to be landed that way because speed is just speed, but if you're not going in the right directions, or to use
you fall off a cliff.
Yeah. So when you
won't be guided. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you talk about speed, speed of doing things is if you do things repeatedly, so you can do fast, and that's why organizations have standard operating procedure. So they will follow certain standard operating procedure. But to me, sometimes standard operating procedures can limit agilities. So I think moving forward, the organization should look into standard operating behavior. so that when you create a culture so that people will work within that culture, and then you have this standard operating behavior and people behave correctly. Then they know what to do. And then you release that kind of creativity and potential of individual. And that, I believe, and that what I see in my team currently. Everyone is moving at the same time. But I have no worry because they know what need to be done.
Where they're headed to.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. In fact, if you have questions, let me know. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about the last 4 days, data and digital. How has this, helped the organization ever so more now during the pandemic for you guys? How has it accelerated as well? And are there new changes that you've adopted, new ways of, reaching out, doing things, as well as, talking with and talking to consumers that have helped you change your strategies, change your directions for that matter, or even, getting more businesses and accelerating your growth?
In my case, from a very, we are a brick and mortar company. We are a resort. I can't make money online. They have to be in the resort. And with all these restrictions, therefore, it begs the question, what then can you do, right? From a marketing point of view, reaching to customers, it has always been there. The travel and the travel industry, thanks to the airlines out there, has introduced, the online booking, removing that barrier between going to a physical, the tourism, the travel operators. Last time you have to go and buy your tickets.
Yeah.
Now it's all online, all self-service because the technology allowed you to do so. That part, okay. We have been doing the same things like everybody else. What changed is the customer experience. Now everybody's thinking about how can we use technology to make sure social distancing is in place, safety is in place, and at the same time, don't go beyond and exploit data. Be ethical about it. And the industry is still very young. We don't know. We're like babies, and children given toys. We were so excited because we are seeing the good side of it. And when it grows to a certain level, the question is then how do you manage? How do you make sure that governance is there? And I think everybody is trying to figure that out. Even me, I don't have the answer for that because every time I give an answer, another colleague who's coming from a different industry will say, no, that's not what's happening in my case. So I think, like I've said, reality is reality, right? So to me, what changed? I think the biggest change really is the realization of the organization that it is important. To me, that's the most success. Because in the past, you ask your boss money for digital. No money. Because business is always about that, right? Yeah. Where the money is, you put your effort there. And true visionary leaders are the only leaders who will say, okay, let's try out, right? And not everybody could be like that. Because if everybody could be like that, all of us will be billionaires right now. Unfortunately not. But yeah, I think, sorry, there's actually a question. My attention went there. Sure. Oh, and it's just to me.
Okay, so we have one question here. So to Dr. Nicco, the outlook for tourism economy recovery remains highly uncertain as the pandemic continues to heavily hit the sector. How can the sector stay relevant in upcoming years?
Okay, number one, this will end. I will tell you. I may not be God, but I will tell you this will end. Just like SARS, just like any other pandemic, this will end. Social media is just making you crazy, Stop looking at social media, fake news and all of that. Calm down because this will end. And when it ends, you have to be prepared. What you do now is prepare. Now that the tail end of the market, what I call the laggards, who did not believe in digital technology before, is now believing, like you said. Why? Because there's no more option for them. There's no other way. In case in point, I have a few friends and a few bosses who called me and said, Nicco, Netflix is so good, huh? You know that you could watch from your phone and then continue to your TV? And I'm like, boss, like few years already, No, but that comment make me realize that, the laggards that I call, the adoption rate, the laggards who are the last piece of your majority are the people. Who are these people? These are the decision makers. The people who has money, They are the ones, no matter how smart you are, without resources, you can't do anything. And if you can't convince them to use it at the right point in time, nothing happens. So industry, how do you prepare? Tighten your belts right now, obviously, right? I mean, don't overspend at a time that you can't make money. But at the same time, try to invest a bit of that money in moving it towards the right direction. Don't be afraid of digital, obviously. Yeah.
Right. Yes,
I think with so many webinar like this, sharing about technologies and how you can use technologies to improve your business, create new values and all that, sometimes businesses are confused and sometimes they don't know where to start. I always tell the businesses, you look at what value are you deliver to your customers. For example, if you are selling something, it's based on cost leadership, meaning is that your operations must be good to reduce the cost. Use technology to enhance that. So that will, for me, that will be the guiding principle. That is, use technology. There's so many out there. You use data for what reason? You use data to enhance customer, what you call experience, or you use data to create new products. Depends what are you doing. So like you say, it's the same technology. You can use it differently to enhance your value. So the principle never changed. You still need to deliver values to your customers. And how you, during this time, because there's some movement restrictions, then you have to create new values. And that new values is based on technology. How to enhance that you already have, and then use technology to deliver that. So I believe that is the very important. That is how you can choose and pick which technology and how to use it to enhance your value. Yeah.
And I think one good technology that we have undermining is definitely podcasts and music. And care to share, Aditya, like what sorts of
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think that. Sorry, I was thrown by the question on the thing. I would wanted to take that, but obviously technology. Look, I think that the way that everything is evolving, audio has come a long way as well. One of the things that I think you mentioned, which was ECommerce in your session, which is conversational commerce, and so imagine, now this is at a nascent stage, but just imagine a reality in the world. Most people carry smartphones. They're, either tethered to their car in some way or the other. Programmatically, you can now serve voice interactive ads. It doesn't have to be Alexa in your car. You could be listening to a stream or you could be listening to a podcast, which could, quite easily have you, it pauses for a response from you. So it'll say, hey, listen, it seems like you enjoyed that ad. Would you like to test drive that car? Say yes or no.
Amazing.
And all of a sudden, you're taking off guard. You're like, oh, my car's talking to me, right? So, and until you say no, and then it'll move on to the rest of that program. It's almost like your media is now started to interact with you, which I feel is going to be that way in which you engage with it.
I think so too. I think it has becoming to be more personalized.
Yep.
To a certain extent, it sometimes you get fear like, why is this ad talking to me now? Like, I was just thinking about it.
Scary.
Right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
in fact, that's personalization at
I
scale.
have to ask you a question.
Yes.
When you buy your phone, did you even read the terms and conditions when you accept before you open?
No, I can't just, I just store off everything.
Yeah.
I know.
You don't even know if people say, you are selling your house to me and your landlord. Yes, please accept because I want to use the phone.
I think all of us have that. All of us have that just almost automatic action. Like, where do I click next?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? Or I agree. Or
Yeah.
I accept.
This is what I'm saying. The governance and ethics must come from the people who's using technology because consumers will never read.
Yeah.
No matter what you put there, to them, I want to use it,
That's it.
And I think that's the ethics. And I'd like to talk about ethics a lot of times because if no one does it, so all of us will be in chaos at the end of the day. People will just throwing, you did not read. It's not my fault. Right? But then again, it's the same thing anywhere. So yeah.
I agree. I think it also, that's one of the bigger topic, GDPR's personalization and security. We have one question here coming from Mindy. What does the panel think about the increase in Facebook groups for sellers and buyers, as well as the Facebook marketplace? Would this trend continue or will something new take over?
Can I answer this first?
Sure. Nicco, go ahead.
Shout out to my Muda.my friends. I work for Muda. I used to be the head of marketing for
Yes.
Muda, right? Yeah. So this has been happening all over. And trust me, in Asia, Malaysia is actually the #1 marketplace in terms of buy and sell, secondhand. Because of the nature of the culture, Muda.my, everybody thought it's a local company, but it's owned internationally. And these Facebook groups, actually, they are competing with the Muda.my and, car list and all of these marketplaces. I think they will not go away because it is in the nature of the people to hoard and to sell. 1 month's treasure, 1 month's garbage is another man's treasure, right? So I think this will not go away. I think a lot of players will come in, but the true test for this, and I've seen it over and over, it's always about who's first in the market, because it's very hard for you to move to another. This type of business is very, very hard to move because it's about trusting the community inside it. Now, if you manage to build like a shady type of community, nobody will try it. And the true test of a platform like this is simple. If I put my secondhand item, how fast can I sell it at the price that I want?
Yeah.
Right? So go, muda damay. Sorry, Facebook, but muda damay.
Absolutely. Yes, Aditya.
Can I just maybe ask a question, because you've been in that space, and obviously, yeah, trust is a big factor. I think the one thing that Song mentioned earlier was also that people have changed their mentality. Obviously, e-commerce is something that people have been forced to get used to, and the big adoption challenges that we had in 2019, 2018, just going back as far as 2004. Or 2006 when, what was it, Zalora or whatever launched, right? Way back when. They said, oh, well, Malaysians just don't trust it. They're not going to put their credit card online. They're not going to do this. Moved on to, okay, fine, you can do it. Online banking can still transfer, or cash on delivery. Now everybody got forced to do that. I feel, has the mentality of Malaysians generally changed, where they are now far more accepting of e-commerce? And does that create a risk? Do you think that places like this, where they're thinking, yeah, it's e-commerce, so I can buy one, right? So
I would answer the questions differently. You say that increased Facebook group in the seller and buyers, and that means, yeah, the transaction may be happening.
It's happening
in Facebook. Facebook started as a social media for sharing news about friends, and then they get into e-commerce. So what I'm trying to say is that they have evolved. Facebook is no different than any one of the small organizations we have here. The fact that they become so good in this because they continuously innovate. And the what do you call that? The smaller guys or the SME, they have the same situation. They are the same. So what happened is that they have evolved into this. Will the trend continue? I don't know. Somebody more innovative may come along and overtake this space as well. Because you look at the likes of TikTok now.
Correct.
Yeah, they have moved from entertainment into e-commerce. So now e-commerce become a merger of entertainments and e-commerce. So things happen so fast, so rapid, because technology come, to create the new opportunities, new value, and then. And will this trend continue? I do not know. That the innovation will take its course, I believe.
You mentioned e-commerce, entertainment commerce. No, just to share. Sorry, they are correct. Will it continue? We don't know. It's an evolution of the platform. Transaction, but I believe human behavior, it will always be there. It's just a matter of who's smarter enough to give you the best next iteration of that. It's like the smartphone. When it's introduced, it changes everybody, right? So now we're just waiting for the next brilliant guy who's going to develop that. Has Malaysians changed transactions? Actually, ever since, Malaysians are very much willing to buy online. I think the question is how much confidence they have to increase that transaction size. In the past, 10 ringgit, fine. 20 ringgit, fine. 5,000 ringgit, hold on. But now I'm buying. Yeah, but Asia, travel is fine, right? Because it's and it's attached to unknown brand.
Right.
Unknown brand, I don't know, right? Yeah. But imagine buying a 7,000 ringgit, let's say, iPhone 12 Pro Max runs out. People are crazily buying online, and they're more than willing to be delivered. In the past, that wouldn't happen. I go to the store and buy it because I know I can touch and feel. But now, with all of these things, because I have to shout out to Lazada, Shopee, they made it possible to feel it so much easier. It comes to my home. Back then, I don't know where it is, right? So the whole ecosystem must work together. Logistics, the partners, like what he mentioned, which is, I truly support MDEC, because they will be the one pioneering this. It has to be a government thing. The government must allow us to do it, or else everybody's just doing their own thing. So
in MDEC, we always believe in this, right? So we can facilitate, but we still believe that innovation is out there with the industries. So we just have to create a conducive environment for these innovations to happen. Yeah.
Great. And I like what you guys have been saying about planning, right? I think transformation is somehow there has to be a sense of planning as well. And on that note, I actually wanted to ask you, there's a saying that goes, if you plan to fail, you're failing to you're failing to plan, right? And for 2021, if there is one thing that you think marketers or even businesses should do to win 2021, what would that be? What would your advice be? Who wants to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, Song, go ahead.
Whenever I go for sharing like this, right? So there will be people listening in, oh, I want to go in e-commerce and things like that. What I'm concerned is after they listen and all that, no action is taken. So I say that if you want to be successful in e-commerce, the first thing, especially the bosses, start buying tonight. Today, start buying something. Because if you don't experience it yourself, how the whole process go, you have no confidence. Because from the 0 to 1, start buying. There's a lot of anxiety in that particular person. Can I trust this? Can I, what will happen if they don't deliver? That suddenly the next morning, so fast it delivered. Then they realize, things have changed so much. So whatever make them successful all this while may not be the right formula moving forward. So they really have to experience it. So first thing, if they want to win 2021, small step, start buying. In fact, that is a big step for most of them.
So, Song said, very good. Experience it. Make sure. Nicco.
Okay, a few things. One, calm down. I always say this. How do you succeed? You calm down, because if it's new to you, you're going to be overwhelmed. Go back to who you are, right? Understand your business. Where is the money coming from? What activates that? And think about it. How can I then improve that one by one? I always say WCIA. If I'm stuck, I ask that. WCIA, what can I automate?
That is a good one.
What can I automate? That leads me to another question, and that's it. So just focus on that, and I think you'll be fine.
Aditya.
From my side, it's what should marketers do in 2021 to win? I represent an industry where I would be forced to now plug that, yes, advertise on audio and do digital audio programmatically, right?
Why
so
not?
This is a plug, but obviously I feel, what Dr. Nicco was saying right there is, yes, absolutely kind of, when you look at what has worked for you so far or this year, if there were any changes, and you have to assess the change that's coming in the same way that you were able to panic and address the change that came, right? But I feel like human behavior is not going to change that drastically in time. You'll have time. The vaccines are going to come. It's going to be a drawn-out process. It's not going to be as quickly as they went into lockdown that they're going to come out of this. Plus the hangover, if I may call it, of this is going to remain in consumers' minds. The habits that were created, the good ones will stay. The bad ones will quickly start getting thrown out of thing. And so I think that you just, what has worked for you, keep doing more of that. And that's what would be my advice, right?
Great. And if there's one thing that I can share with everyone is just let's continue winning. And I think they will be a good guide or behavior for us in 2020. And work together, collaboration. And on that note, unfortunately, and I wish I had more time with you guys, I thought the 45 questions is enough. I only asked 4. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that fantastic session with the gentleman here. Yeah, trust data scientists. It leads you to a lot of good things. And, to everyone who's joined us across the Star Media, Star Group platforms, thank you so much. We hope to see you in the next one. And, stay safe and have a very good Friday evening.